Yeah, I took a podcast. This is a spite podcast.
Dear Shandy.
Welcome back to Dear Shandy, listeners. Hello, Andy.
Hello.
How are you today?
You know how I feel.
Yeah, you don't love the anniversary Q&As that I keep forcing you to do.
Yeah.
I'm only listening to our Shandies, and I pulled them over on Instagram. I said, would you rather a hot topic episode, aka where we interview an expert or an author? And you guys, our Shandies, said, no, we would rather an anniversary Q&A at the 2-year mark.
Give the people what they want. And I know I didn't dress up for this
The occasion.
this occasion, but it's not a big milestone.
2 years.
Yeah, 2 years is not. It's like 1 year, 5 year, 10 year, 25 year. Can you imagine we're doing this 25 years? Is that possible?
I don't know.
But
There'll be something else by then.
I promise I'll dress up at the 5 year. And but you actually wore something special.
Kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, it's somewhat special. I wore this jumpsuit on The Bachelor in Seoul at the rose ceremony.
The rose ceremony.
And it's been sitting in my closet. And I was like, I'm going to wear that for that special occasion.
Very nice.
Before we get started, I wanted to mention that if there were repeats, like questions that were asked in anniversary Q&A year 1, like a year ago, and then obviously we're not including those. For example, what does Andy do for a living? Which came up a lot again.
Well, really need to know.
So yeah, if you did ask that question, you can head over there. I'll link it here and in the description. And all the questions we gathered were on Instagram. Mm-hmm. We polled our listeners and you guys delivered. And they're in no particular order.
I'm at the mercy of the Shandies.
You are.
And I accept that.
Yes.
And as a matter of fact, at the 2-year mark, I'm proud to be at the mercy of the Shandies because it's a fine community.
It is. They're the best part, aren't they? We love you guys. It's true. Andy loves you so much that he's going to muscle his way through answering questions about himself.
I don't think they fully understand what a testament
Yeah.
that is to my love for the Shandy community.
I
don't think they understand.
It's a real compliment to you guys, honestly, because Andy does not like doing this. You hate talking about
torture.
yourself. Yeah.
I feel sick. I don't want to be here at all.
All right. Let's start nice and light, Andy. Who is on each of your celebrity hall pass lists? Ooh. I feel like ours are both like not that passionate, but also pretty consistent. Does that make sense? Like we're loyal.
I think you think that my hall pass is different. I have a new hall pass.
Okay.
I think you think it's Margot Robbie, right?
I mean, Margot Robbie belongs on everyone's hall pass.
Yeah, that's like I shouldn't have to even request a hall pass for Margot Robbie.
Yes, it goes without saying. You know what it is? It's like the middle thing in bingo. It's the free square.
Yeah, exactly. You get
space.
Margot Robbie.
Yeah,
Everything else you need permission.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Amanda Seyfried.
Oh. Yeah. She followed me on Twitter at one point.
I know.
That's my claim to fame. I'm a big Amanda Seyfried fan.
Yeah.
And when I saw she followed me on Twitter, this was shortly after The Bachelor. I'm sure she doesn't still follow me on Twitter, but I was really excited. I love that I just made your hall pass about me.
I know. Well, I will say that when you told me that she was following you, I kind of played it cool. I was like, oh yeah, that's nice. But now that I have a hall pass,
yeah.
Wait, is this official?
I mean, I would respect that. If you had a chance of making that happen, I would not stand in your way.
Okay. I am officially on that train.
Is there only one? It's a hall pass list.
Oh, I still have a Zooey Deschanel thing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Zooey Deschanel is like the quintessential girl next door.
I used to have a huge Mila Kunis hall pass.
Okay.
I don't know why I keep calling this a hall pass. This is just famous people I want to bone, right? Isn't that what this is? But that I now have permission to.
Okay, so you like really beautiful Hollywood starlets.
Oh.
You basic bitch.
Okay.
So now let me talk about my hall pass list, which is much more sophisticated.
Nuanced.
I mean, Seth MacFarlane, I think, is hysterically funny. Like, I think he's brilliant, although he's not consistent in his output. And so he's kind of gone down my list. Right now, top of my list, other than Margot Robbie, which was the free pass, is Bo Burnham.
Oh, 100%. I would be honored.
Bo Burnham, like, what is going on in that man's mind? Like, I want to have conversations with him and talk about feelings.
He is a great artist.
He is. I think he's bordering on genius. And he's got the musicality on top of it. I would say in my 20s, it was John Mayer.
Yeah,
Good talent.
there you go.
Yeah. And you actually know him personally. And then I actually met him, and that was hilarious.
Yeah. Should we discuss that?
And let me think, was there anyone else? In the past, I've had like Topher Grace and who's that other guy? Who's the guy, the actor guy?
I'm sort of confused now. Is a hall pass just who we have crushed on, or a hall pass is who we're allowed to have sex with? I'm not sure what's going on.
I'll leave it. Okay, for me, let's leave it at one. Yours is Amanda Seyfried, mine's Bo Burnham. We'll drop it.
You're just listing a bunch of guys you want to have sex with. Like, that's not the point. You forced me into that. I said Amanda Seyfried, but I'm like, if I had one person that I should have permission,
yes, you're right.
That's the one.
I was thrown off by this Shandy's use of the word list.
Yeah,
okay?
It's not that you didn't understand.
I got carried
there's also
away.
a girl I saw walking down the street yesterday. Can I have a hall pass for her? I don't know what her name is or where she lives, but if I see her again.
Okay. So Amanda Seyfried, Bo Burnham got to the bottom of that one.
Done. Next.
Do you have an all-time favorite podcast episode and why?
I think I can answer this.
Ooh.
Now, there's a little caveat here because there are some recaps and a couple of Q&As which I found to be very good episodes.
I agree completely.
But as far as me, like really in the episode, feeling like this, I
know
really
what you're going to say. Okay, we're going to say
is.
1, 2, 3, and because I know it's a person, we're going to say the person's name.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be 1, 2, 3, person's name. 1, 2, 3, Susan Cain. Yes.
I knew it. I mean, that wasn't, it's not one of those, I knew that was happening.
Yeah. I mean, that
Cain.
was all time.
For me, runners up actually are our first, How I Met You.
Oh, How We Met?
How We Met, yeah.
Really?
Episode number 1.
Oh.
Yeah, poor lighting, bad camera angles.
Yeah.
But I liked that.
We didn't know what we were doing.
That was the most detailed I ever told that story. And usually I'm rushing. If you're like, oh, how'd you meet? I'm like, well, first I did this, then I did this. I paraphrase the whole thing and it screws it up.
Yeah.
I was able to really take my time luxuriously, I might add.
Yeah.
And tell it. That was fun. And can you remain friends with an ex?
Oh, Margie. She was so great.
Yeah, that was a good one.
And that was very sweet of her because honestly, as I said in the anniversary Q&A 1, a lot of starting up a podcast is really just asking for favors of people. Mm-hmm. And, our podcast didn't really exist. I mean, I don't want to say it didn't exist. We had listeners and there was something there, but it was only episode 5. There wasn't a lot happening. It was really sweet of her to come on.
It was. And that was not something most ex-girlfriends would do.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Or ex-fiancés.
Yeah. Well, she is in a league of her own.
She is.
But I would agree with you. Susan Cain, for me, to me, that got to the heart of what I wanted to create.
Yeah.
Like I got to meet an idol of mine who I really respect for her mind and her writing. And we talked about things that you just don't really get to talk about very much.
I think we were allowed to really be just ourselves in that episode.
And then afterwards, she emailed us to say that it was her all-time favorite podcast.
And I melted.
Yeah. I cried both after, like when we were wrapping up with her and when we received that email. So anyway, Susan Cain, if you haven't listened to it, you should.
And read the book.
And read the book. Yes, bittersweet. Okay, so next question. Would you ever do a live show?
Yes, but I don't believe that we have really fleshed that out.
Yeah, we've talked about it in passing, just here and there. I don't know how that would play out because we're both such like as we've talked about in our wedding episodes, we're not really hammy.
We're not hammy, yeah.
We don't really love being the center of attention. Even when I did have a blog party, I was like, well, it's a viewing party. We're all going to watch the episode together. It's not really like I'm not doing anything.
I think it's a good opportunity for us to poll our listeners. What format should our live show take? I don't know. You tell us.
Knowing us, we would probably do a live viewing thing and then maybe recap after or something.
I think that's probably the go-to, but I don't know.
I don't know. Honestly, it makes me really nervous just thinking about it.
Yeah.
Because people might forget sometimes that we're just in our living room.
Oh, you'd definitely be nervous. But we would do it.
Yeah.
We just don't know what it would look like.
We need encouragement in case that's something you're interested in.
A lot of positive reinforcement. It's okay. You can do a live show.
We'll stroke your egos. You stroke ours. What's something your partner does that instantly calms you?
Hugs.
Oh, me hugging you?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when I'm like really freaking out and like going off the rails, you always do that. You come over and you give me a hug, and I'm right away. My first thing is just like, stop hugging me, patronizing me. I don't need this hug. I can do it.
Get off me, bitch.
Yeah. Like I'm literally angry at you for hugging me, and then suddenly I'm like, oh, this is nice.
You relax into it. I actually know what you're talking about. I can feel your body just give in.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's it.
I didn't know that. I'm learning something.
Yeah, I mean, don't overuse it now. Just only when necessary.
Now you regret telling me because now I
Yeah.
know. For me, it's definitely the head rubbing. I love a head
That's
rub.
your off switch.
Yes.
Like,
Even when I'm mad at you, I'm like,
yeah.
I won't move my head though because that feels good.
Isn't that a funny state of being, is being angry and feeling pleasure at the same time?
Yeah, it's pretty unique.
Very unique. That's what I think some like S&M fetishes
Oh my
are about.
God, you took the words out of my mouth. I was about to say, I bet that's like breakup or hate sex or,
Yeah.
like makeup sex where you're angry at each other. Basically like hate sex.
Yeah. Or like watching someone, have sex with someone you like.
Oh, yeah. Like cuckolding.
Yeah, cuckolding, right.
Yeah, pleasure and pain.
Watching someone have sex with someone you like. Cuckolding. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So me getting my head rubbed while I'm mad at you is like being cuckolded.
It's like a poor man's cuckolding.
What have been your favorite places to travel together?
I mean, Kyoto for sure.
Kyoto was, I think, possibly the top of your list because it had a bit of city, but it had a lot of nature. It had so many animals. It was just such a magical place.
I think it's safe to say that if we both spoke Japanese fluently, we'd already be living in Kyoto.
And if we managed to get a visa or something.
But if we spoke Japanese fluently, it would be much easier to get a visa.
That's true. We'd probably make it happen for ourselves in some way. Yeah, I would live in Kyoto in a heartbeat, and maybe we should make that our lifelong dream.
I think it kind of is, but I think with a heavy emphasis on the dream aspect.
It's very impractical, especially at this
happening.
point in our lives. We're not 21 and like, oh, I'm going to take a gap year in Japan teaching English.
Yeah, no, it's not happening. But runners up for me, Maui and Santorini in Greece.
Totally agree with those. Obviously, there are many other places we love on this list, but these are places that I think we were like, took our breath away. So that's a good segue to the next question. Will you always live in New York?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
I think some people might be surprised because you are New York. You are New York.
I am extremely New York, but at the same time, I feel like I was forced to be New York. Like I may have been born a country boy, but now I've been infected with New York.
You were a country mouse born in the city and born in the best city in the world, not to be all New York.
Yeah, I mean, I think it may very well be the best. I say may because I'm trying to be, I don't want people coming after me, but I know it's the best city in the world. But that's not the point. I think that New York is amazing. Unbelievable in so many ways, but there are many ways which is not amazing. There are many ways in which it feels like oppressive to me.
Yeah. It's so crowded. That's my big thing.
It's so crowded. It's so fast.
There's lines everywhere you go.
And also it's just, it's fast. It's always fast. And there's not a lot of nature. I like nature.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel, I feel like it's like it's a little bit of a disease.
Yeah.
Like I really do feel like I got bit by a spider and I'm Spider-Man now. And that's really cool because I get to, spin webs and fly off of buildings.
Wow. Is being a native New Yorker like being a Spider-Man?
It is.
Wow.
Because I love being Spider-Man, but I also really just want to be Peter Parker again.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm going to make your analogy work because Spider-Man saves lives, and you may not save lives with your New York ways, but you bring smiles to people's faces with your jokes and analogies, and how nice that is to have that superpower that you definitely have because you're a native New Yorker, but at the same time, it's a burden.
Wow, that is really good. Nicely done.
Thanks. I see what you mean. Like there's an element of just pressure.
There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of just feeling like you have to keep doing things.
Yeah.
I kind of want to be in an environment where I want to choose to do things at my own pace and enjoy bugs and plants and little animals floating around and bouncing.
Bouncing.
Whatever animals do. I want more of that.
Maybe one day we'll live in the country.
Yeah. Or
Or
at least
Kyoto.
have the option. Or Kyoto. Yeah. Or Maui.
Okay, so segue then. Does traveling together test your relationship?
I have a strong opinion about this.
Okay.
I think the opposite. I think it proves how strong our relationship is.
Oh, in our, yeah, For some reason, I read that like in general, does traveling test your relationship? Which says how often we do Q&As, and I'm not talking about us. But I completely agree.
Yeah.
And actually, I've been in other relationships where traveling together was like an eye-opener in a bad way, where I was like, oh,
Yeah.
actually, this is now the impetus for us eventually breaking up.
Yeah.
But in our case,
I always feel closer to you after we travel
yeah,
and during travel.
yeah, and we're really well matched in that regard. Like I pull my weight in certain ways with planning and arranging, and you with like researching where we're going to go and logistics. We just sort of complement each other well when it comes to travel.
And you prefer going to cities. I prefer going to more, like beautiful places. And you make me realize that I do occasionally want to see cities. And I think I make you realize that you do occasionally want to see mountains and streams and valleys.
Yes, there you go. Yin and yang. Okay, next question. What were your top 3 dating deal breakers? Ooh, there's so many. I don't know if I can limit it to 3. Okay, how about we each think of one at a time? So for me, one of them is just humorlessness, like the inability to laugh at yourself. That's so important. If I teased someone or sort of ribbed them or made a joke of sorts about them and they couldn't laugh at themselves, and it's not like I was, it was not scathing, the remark I would make.
Yeah.
If they just got defensive, like it's over. It's over. I cannot live with that.
That's number 1 for me too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Walking on eggshells with any type of humor situation.
Yeah.
No good. I have one.
Okay.
This is very specific and weird, but I hated people who repeatedly used their own catchphrase.
You always notice this about people. It's so funny.
You can't do it. First of all, especially if it's one that other people use all the time.
Yeah.
You say that you can say that once a month, maybe, but to repeat it several times in one date.
Yeah.
Oof.
Okay, I have one, and this is for all people, not just romantic relationships, but friendships too. When people don't ask questions.
Of course.
You know this about me. This is one of my biggest social pet peeves. I just cannot stand it. And it does not come from a place of me wanting to talk about myself. It's not. It's just because I think that asking questions is an integral part of carrying a conversation as a human in society.
I couldn't agree more, and that would be my third. I'm just stealing
Are
your
you just
thunder.
piggybacking?
I was hoping that yours would jive with mine, and luckily they did, so I'm safe.
That's not surprising, actually, that we would have the same ones.
I think those are kind of universal deal. I'm not sure about the catchphrase one. That might not be universal, but it should be. But those two, if humor is important to you, just general humor, not like you don't have to be like, Seinfeld.
Oh, when someone is just not funny.
Yeah, well, just absolutely not funny at all, and doesn't laugh at anything you say that's funny. If it's undeniably funny, you're not trying to be funny. It's just a light, sort of an aside that's your normal person laughs at, and they're just like, it's not good.
Okay, you're making me think of another one. Okay. I can really go on about these. Another one is when people act like it costs them something to give a compliment or like to laugh at a joke or, they're just so ungenerous socially.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. I've got another one too. Argumentative without a cause.
Oh, yeah. Just contrarian for the sake
always.
of it.
Whatever you say. It's like, what a lovely day today. Yeah, but, yesterday was nicer.
Yeah, or they'll say no and then say something that agrees with you.
Right.
But they have to say no. It's
they
like, no, it
have
was
to always, their way of communicating is just to counter whatever you said, even if they agree with it.
Yeah. Which brings me to my next one that's occurring
Nice.
to me just now.
Want to just make the whole thing about this?
Know-it-alls. People who are just... they're like, oh, let me teach you. And they're kind of condescending about it, patronizing, pedantic. Can't stand that.
Yeah.
Just, you want a general open-mindedness. I'm not saying that I'm trying to change that's the thing is when they come at it, like, stop trying to change my mind. I'm right. You're wrong. Let me tell you why.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that is, not many people like that. That's a good one. I think we're good. We have, you got more?
One more, people who don't give the benefit of the doubt. I love that top 3 deal breakers turned into my general social peeves. But people who don't give the benefit of the doubt, like people who don't assess the entire situation.
People who don't make eye contact.
Oh, okay. And look, I know some people are uncomfortable with eye contact, but I
can be uncomfortable being with someone without eye contact as well. I'm not. We're talking about dating, right? I'm not talking about people I just meet in the street.
That's true. That's true.
It's my choice.
It's my choice. It's my taste. Okay. All right. We got to the bottom of that. I think we should quit while we're ahead. I didn't realize they were just going to come spilling out of my mouth like word vomit.
I once dated someone who everything was hella. Everything before everything. I mean, I didn't date them. It was one date.
Oh, like obviously.
Yeah. And it was hella. And you could tell that she was like, oh, here comes a moment where I could say hella.
She'd be like, oh, that's hella funny.
Yeah, hella funny. Everything was hella this. This was a while ago.
Catchphrase.
Yeah, that falls into the catchphrase category. Catchphrase can be one word.
Yes.
But it's something. There's an effort there it's repetitive.
Yeah.
So you got to mix it up. Don't keep saying the same thing.
Oh, I feel sorry for that person. And I feel like that stems from a place of feeling like you don't really have much to say. You don't have a good
catchphrase. She was the worst. She doesn't even have a good catchphrase. But she still repeats it.
Didn't you guys have a cat at one time? I know. I thought about not using this one, but I thought we should try to address it once and for all.
It's not a topic I like to discuss, but if they must know, and I think they deserve to know.
Mm-hmm. The Shandies deserve to know.
They do. We had an unbelievably cute, just absolutely delightful, very, very mischievous. Oh, liked to bite.
She had so much personality. We adopted her at an adoption event, actually. And then she came a few weeks later and we were totally obsessed with her. And actually, funny story, we thought we were adopting a male cat.
Yeah, her name was Danny.
Yes.
But it became Dan.
Yeah, the whole litter was named after characters from Greece, and we got Danny, and then they called us and they were like, so whoever checked the gender of your cat was wrong and it's a female, do you still want it? And we were like, yes. And we were completely obsessed with Danny. She was so cute and so funny, but your allergies won out.
I couldn't take it, and I really pushed it to the end. There was a point where I woke up one night, I was like, I think I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
And I still was like, I can do this. It was brutal. I mean, there's nothing funny about it. No. Like, I remember the day when I gave her in the little crate, whatever, back to the...
And she was adopted, by the way. Like, we let her go when another family had...
Oh, she was... As a matter of fact, not only was she adopted by what I think was a lovely family, but I insisted, and they said this was not protocol. I insisted I get a photo of the cat with the new owner. And they refused me many times, and I would not stop. I was like, just one picture. I mean, what's the big deal? Just give me a picture. Just one picture, and I'll stop. And they did send me a picture.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And it was a delightful picture of a very, she must have been like 9 years old.
Yeah, it was a family with a little girl and the cat.
And she was holding the cat, and it looked, Danny looked happy, I guess. And I did continue to ask for updated pictures, and that's when I eventually got ghosted by the adoption agency. Yeah.
It was affecting me too. I don't really have as bad allergies as you, but with singing, it's not great to have something that...
Yeah, there was no amount of Claritin that could stop what was happening to me. It was really rough.
It's a real tragedy. It's a tragedy that you, with your love of cats, have an allergy to cats.
I did something terrible in my past life. It's really awful. Like, I want nothing more than to have a cat.
Really? What? I guess... I'm not an allergist, we'll put it that way. But if you had been exposed to cats more in your youth, would you most likely not have an allergy?
I mean, today? I'd like to think probably it would have helped. Like if I ate, peanut allergies, like you eat a bunch of peanuts when you're 2 years old, you probably, I don't know, hopefully.
No, you sort of you kind of integrated into their baby food diet or something.
Yeah, if I had cat hair stuck to my face every day when I was a young child. I don't know. I don't like to think about it, but the fact is I can't have a cat, and it's very upsetting. And we did have a cat. Her name was Danny, with an I, and she's gone now, and I'm not happy about it.
So stop asking.
Yeah, that's enough. It ends here.
It brings back sad memories.
Yeah, I think about her all the time. I actually say oftentimes, and I know you know this, I'll sit here and I'll just say, I miss Danny.
Yeah.
I do say that.
He does. And it's been years. Okay, well, that's a good segue. If you could have any animal as a pet, what would it be?
I know number one is leopard. I've thought about this. I'm ready for this one. Number two, Arctic fox.
Wow.
And number three is a baby elephant that never grows up, because that would be extremely impractical. Not that I have anything against adult elephants. They're wonderful. I just couldn't have one in the house.
Yeah, it's not practical.
No.
For me, it would be a baby fox.
Okay, so an Arctic fox.
Okay.
But you can't have... The only baby that stays a baby is the elephant. Everything else has to grow up.
Okay. A fox.
I'm taking that.
I've always thought foxes are just so freaking cute.
So you're good with the Arctic fox?
Okay. Are they white?
They're all white.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm into that.
But trust me, Arctic fox is a good call for you.
Final answer, Arctic fox. What's the most annoying thing about having a podcast? I think we should divide this into two. Like one is annoying thing and the other is frustrating thing.
What's the difference between annoying and frustrating?
Well, because for me, there's some things that are like annoying. I'm like, oh, that grinds my gears. And then there's frustrating where it's like,
okay, I know what,
like it's a little different.
Very subtle. But I think frustrating would be scheduling, I think.
Okay.
Annoying would be the things people take offense at.
Okay. For me, I'm more frustrated by the things people take offense at and more annoyed by recording when I'm not in the mood.
Oh, I was going to say that as number one, but it's too close to home for this episode.
So basically, this episode is the most annoying thing about the podcast, is that once a year you have to do this.
The thing is, I don't consider that annoying. I consider it part of the job. You don't say your job is annoying. You say your job is drudgery or you hate your job.
Oh.
The part of the job is that you don't feel up for it. You gotta snap into it. You gotta do it.
Yeah.
So I don't see that as annoying. I see it as just part of the job. And I also see the censorship that we've had to commit to as part of the job as well. At first, I've learned to just stop being so irritated by it and just accept it as, again, part of the job. And honestly, I think it's, in some ways, maybe I need to censor myself a little bit more in real life. It's teaching me a little bit. The thing that bothers me, though, about that is people have a tendency, and again, this is 99% of the Shandies. Like,
well, I feel like the
just
kind
close
of Shandies.
Your ears. This is not about you.
Oh no, and I feel like most of the Shandies watching this episode are not the type of people we're talking about.
Absolutely, the people. This is a safe place, I think.
Yeah,
there'll be one or two, but context. There is a real lack of understanding of context these days.
I agree.
Just because a word is bad doesn't mean it's always bad.
Or has been, exactly. Thank you.
Like fuck is a bad word. But if I say like, fuck, I love tangerines. I mean, that's not bad.
I mean, you do love a good tangerine, a good tart tangerine,
the most
firm.
Underrated fruit is a good tangerine.
Well, the reason why it's not as popular is because it's not as consistent.
It's not consistent. It's usually terrible.
Yeah, but when it's good, it's good.
Yeah, but it has to be really good. I'll be honest. Even an above average tangerine is not that great. It wasn't a great example. Maybe nectarine is a better example. That's a more consistently great fruit when it's excellent.
Okay.
But my point is that's context.
Yes.
Like, I hate puppies is something a terrible person says. You see? Yeah.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. And for me, it's also what I said earlier, like the benefit of the doubt thing.
Yeah.
And this is now becoming just censorship in general, which, by the way, was another question. Do you find yourself censoring more now? Is it to the point of annoyance? These were two separate questions.
Okay, well.
So yeah, we're answering both. When we've been doing this for now 2 years.
Yeah.
And we say something in a way that is like a little off color or a little inappropriate, or we have a take that you might not agree with that is you perceive to be sexist, ableist, racist, I don't know, any of the ists.
Yeah.
I feel this immense frustration and I think it maybe is because I feel a mutual parasocial relationship with our listeners. Like I feel attached to them just as they seem to feel attached to us.
Absolutely.
So it really hurts my feelings actually when we have 2 years worth of episodes. We're at over 150 episodes. And before that, I was writing for around 7 years. So when someone is like, oh, I thought you were this way, but now I see you're this way.
Can I just...
Because of one thing, I'm like, it just drives me crazy.
Can I encapsulate what you're saying in a song? If you don't know me by now, then you'll never, ever, ever know me. I don't know what that word is. Is that just a sound or is it a word?
I don't know.
Who cares? But the point is yes. Well, how do you have 152 episodes now how do you think that we're this way?
Yeah. Here's the thing is those people are not the kind of people who would listen to this episode, I suppose. But again, it's both context, it's the bigger picture. If we routinely said things that would suggest we are this way, then I totally understand. But it's very frustrating for something to be A, taken out of context, and B, automatically construed in the worst way. That's what it is. It's automatically taken and twisted in the worst way possible, in this way that's like, gotcha.
Yeah.
I found you out. You were trying to fool all of us, but now I see you're a bad person.
They're detectives.
Yeah.
The worst detectives in the world. And there was some serious gold. I will say, some real gold that was cut from some episodes.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sorry to the ones who deserved it, but it just didn't. We have a couple of consultants, unpaid consultants that we use to determine if something we said crosses the line. You know who you are,
our dear friends.
We know.
They're literally our woke police.
Yeah, our woke police. And they negged like a few of these things. And it's a shame because they were solid.
And I'm the death. I don't know. What am I?
You're the executioner.
I'm the executioner.
Yeah, and rightfully so. They deserve to die, but they were too much.
Well, no, I don't think they were too much. It's just that out of fear of them being construed in that way,
we wouldn't sleep well.
Yes.
As long as we wouldn't sleep well, they're too much. But I'm thinking maybe we should have like an OnlyFans. Right, all the things I say which would offend people are just in one place.
Yeah.
For money.
Well, that's the thing is I feel the majority get it. The majority of our Shandies get it.
Absolutely.
Like they know what we mean. Yeah, the vast
like 99%.
Yeah.
We're always talking about the fringe.
Yes.
The fringe, look, the vocal minority.
But they are so vocal. That's the thing. Yeah. And another question here is, what have you learned about yourselves doing the podcast? I wish more than anything, trust me, that I could care less. That would be my superpower. If I would choose to fly and maybe be invisible and maybe teleport.
Not get carried away here.
Time travel.
Right.
But in terms of realistic superpowers, not caring would be one of them.
Yeah, well, that is one of the things about you. If there was a question, what are the pet peeves? And it's not a pet peeve, but it's endearing too.
Our pet peeves about each other?
Yeah, it's not even a pet peeve, but it's endearing. It makes me like you more because you're a gentle, loving, nice person. But you do care. You care too much.
I do care too much. And we were getting off topic. Yeah. Any other annoyances or frustrations with the podcast? For me, you touched on scheduling. I think this is a little more complicated than people might realize. When an episode just drops and you start listening, sometimes the scrambling that happened to get that episode out on time is embarrassing, and it's not really our fault most of the time. Maybe someone changed things around or
technical issues. The umbrella of technical issues.
Yes.
Extremely frustrating.
Yeah.
But despite all the issues with it, it's always a net positive for me.
I completely agree. There are definitely days where I'm like, I can't do this. And usually, honestly, it's in conjunction with us doing our other jobs because this is not either of our day jobs.
Yeah. But I mean, it's just like, who am I? I'm just like some annoying New Yorker. Like the fact that I have the ability to make tens of thousands of people happy on a weekly basis. How am I going to complain about that?
Yeah.
I think I'm making you happy. Or is she making you happy? And I'm just not doing anything.
I think you're making them happy.
I'm okay with that too.
You're making them happy, and I'm facilitating you making them happy.
Oh, that's selling yourself short.
Do you follow the news? How do you deal with all the bad things happening in the world? We do follow the news. Yeah. Well, Andy follows the news, and when I'm with him, I also follow the news. But when I'm off on my own, for some reason, that happens less now because you often travel with me for the podcast. But if I'm gone singing, I don't touch the news.
Yeah, no, it's funny. When I come to visit you after like not seeing you for 2 weeks, I'm like, oh, did you hear that aliens landed? And you're like, huh? But I totally respect people and actually admire. Well, I don't admire is pushing it, but I envy people who just tune the news out. Because the news is pretty rough.
It's very rough.
Especially
it gets
the last
to me.
couple years.
It really gets me down.
It gets me down. But I insist upon being in the know constantly. It's borderline sickness. I get to the point where I can't take it anymore. It's like too much badness. And I've turned to chess, online chess.
Yes. Yeah. You play a lot of chess as your stress management.
It's a world stress. It's different. It's like micro stress, like work stress or just stress in the house is different. But when it's a world stress, I play chess. And I've gotten quite good at chess in the last couple of years as a result of how horrible the world is.
So dark. I mean, the
Silver
world really
lining.
is going to shit.
There's a lot of things that are going to shit. We actually have begun subscribing to
Nice news.
Nice News.
This is not sponsored.
It's not. No, it's not sponsored. It's delightful. It's literally called Nice News.
Yes.
And all it is nice things. It's
And
great.
we love it.
It really is great. And they're not stupid stories. It's not like,
No.
a puppy was found in a well, which is, by the way, very nice.
Yeah, that's a very nice
Now,
story.
see, out of context,
Yeah.
someone see. But it's nice and it's global. It's a great. It's good.
Yeah.
It's what the news actually. It's not. The news is bad. That's the problem. When I read Nice News, I'm like, this isn't the news. This is the nice news.
You know what it is?
But
It's
it's
like the
still
feel-good
nice.
story at the end of the news.
Yeah.
But all collected.
Yeah, where you're like, I don't need this. You don't have to make me feel good. I know how bad it is.
The problem is that humans are just not really good-natured
No, they do a lot of bad things.
to the planet and to
And
each
to
other.
each other, yeah. And to animals.
Oh, I mean, especially to animals.
Yeah, especially to animals.
Okay. All right. Okay, moving on from the news
Yeah.
onto lighter things. What has been your weirdest fan encounter?
Well, I'm thinking of two. One is not necessarily weird in the encounter, but weird in the location.
Yeah. I know exactly which one you're talking about.
Okay.
Do you want to start with that one?
Sure.
This was really recent, actually.
Yeah.
We were in Switzerland. We were in Mürren,
Mürren.
which is like a very small
It's in the
town
middle of nowhere.
in the Swiss Alps. You have to take multiple modes of transportation.
And a cable car.
Yeah, and a cable car to reach it. And when we were just taking in the view and wanting to take a photo, this girl turns around. She was like, Sharleen and Andy, and it was like really sweet, but we were so caught off guard because it was, we just felt like we were off the grid.
I didn't feel like I was on Earth.
Yeah.
We were at like 7,000 or 8,000 feet altitude, and we were in the middle of the mountains.
That was actually really cool.
That was cool.
Like that was one of those moments where we're like, wow, we have a podcast.
Yeah. When would you ever have thought a podcast was something you could have where you're recognized in the mountains?
Yes. Okay, so what's your other one?
Well, once in a while, very rare, but like this kind of parasocial entitlement.
Yes.
It's very strange. Like there was one particular incident where we were at something and a girl came up to me. Then she asked, do you think Sharleen would, hang out with me, get lunch or a coffee? And I was like, have you asked her? Like, she's over there. You can go ask her yourself. And she's like, no, I didn't ask her. I just feel a little like, shy. And I was like,
My facilitator.
yeah. And I was like, well, would you like me to broker a coffee with a person that I've never met before and she's literally never seen? And then she got kind of irritated. She was like, so you're saying that Sharleen wouldn't have a coffee with me? And then I was like, aboard.
You're bored, yeah.
Slowly. I didn't know what to do.
Yeah, I think sometimes people tend to forget, some people lead with it. They're like, okay, I know a lot about you and I know you don't know anything about me, but this is why, what I'm about to say makes sense or whatever. It's like an opener. But I do think some people, it falls like way in the opposite direction where it's like, I listen to your voice once or twice a week. Like I hear you in a way that like, I feel like I know you. And then they kind of forget the other piece of the puzzle, which is that we don't know them. Yeah. And that kind of plays out sometimes like, well, with people just sort of expecting. Kind
It's very rare though.
It is.
It's very rare. And honestly, when it comes down to it, it's flattering. Like
It's
in the
super
end.
flattering.
Like I'm not offended.
No, totally. And in that case, actually, to me, the funny part of that example is the dichotomy of her feeling familiar enough with me to expect me to hang out with her like a friend, even though I've never met her, but then paired with her inability to ask me herself.
But that was the strangest
Yeah,
part.
exactly. Yeah. But it is flattery at the end of the day. And honestly, if she had asked me directly, I probably would have said yes. That's the irony.
I know. This is also true.
The entire concept of fans is a funny one. And I think this was really best summed up with our episode with Josh Peck about parasocial relationships. Yeah. It's a weird dynamic that I think some people are more used to than us. Like I've never really, even though because of The Bachelor, I've been recognized for years, but it's not something that comes naturally to me to be like, oh, you like my work?
I don't think it should come naturally to anybody.
I mean, I agree. But I think you probably become desensitized to it after a while if you're really famous, which we are not.
Yes, we are not. Every time people come up and tell us they like our podcast, I am delighted. It's just lovely.
Oh my God. It honestly makes our day.
Yeah.
Because it's so nice to meet face to face someone who enjoys, like,
because we're
relates
talking,
to
I'm
us.
talking into a machine. I don't know. There's no people here.
Yeah.
I'm talking into nothing.
And I think our sensibilities, our humor, our what we talk about, the way we talk about things is kind of specific. And so when it really speaks to people, I know that when I meet that person in real life, I'm going to like them.
I agree. And I also feel like even with all the comments and Instagram and YouTube and all that stuff we get and the iTunes reviews, it's very flattering and nice, but it's all in a machine. Like, it's not really humanized until someone comes up to you and you're like, oh, you see the things I see the way I see them.
My favorite
Yay.
is when they're a commenter, when they're like, oh, I'm so-and-so, like that. This is my handle.
Right.
And because we do read our comments, it's like, oh my God.
They're famous. To me, they're famous. Like when I meet someone like Berry Blonde, for example. Like,
we love Berry Blonde.
She's good.
She's so sweet.
If I met Berry Blonde, I'd feel like I was meeting a celebrity.
Yeah, agreed. Okay.
And I'd ask her for coffee. Weirdly. Like, so are we getting coffee? You comment a lot.
I can't imagine Andy living in San Francisco. Why did he move there?
Well, you are correct. You can't imagine it, nor can I. But I moved
You
there.
should talk to the camera. That was the camera,
Sorry.
the machine.
The machine. See, that's what I'm saying. There's no people there. I moved to San Francisco for a girl. And
That girl was Margie.
that girl was Margie, episode 5. So I moved there because, number one, I fell in love with her. And number two, when you fall in love with someone in a new place, the impression of that place is greatly enhanced by said falling in love. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, yeah, by the experience, whether it's positive or negative.
Yeah. So I
It
just
colors the whole city.
colors. Yes, colors. That was the word I was looking for. So I came back to New York and I was like, I'm moving to San Francisco. Done. I've always kind of been curious about California. Kind of, just a sort of
Cali-curious.
is that a word?
I don't know. I just said it.
It's probably been said before, but that's good. I like that. I like that one.
Why can't you just give that to me?
I'm giving it to you more than I would if you were original with it. Because it's so good that someone must have said that already.
Oh, wow. Okay. You
Even though
twisted
it's-
that into a compliment, and I accept.
Excellent.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I moved to California, specifically San Francisco, for the woman that I loved. And I proceeded to hate it.
Wait, did you hate San Francisco or did you hate it because things went downhill with Margie?
It was a combination. I started to realize that San Francisco is a lot more smoke than fire. It looks beautiful. And by the way, the vegetables and fruits, tremendous.
Yeah. I remember the food and coffee being really excellent.
Fresh, this the best produce. But the vibe and the weather and just the general thing, no. And I felt like there was no cohesive center to the city. It was like the energy was poor.
Okay.
And it was a lonely city. And it was a windy city. And I used to walk down the streets and I pictured sort of cartoonish whistling of wind coming down these side streets where there was no people. I lived up on the hill. I lived in the highest place in San Francisco. I lived by Coit Tower, which is literally is almost as high. I lived within 20 feet of as high as you can get in San Francisco.
Okay.
And
That sounds like a pain.
And I worked in the financial district.
Okay.
And I used to have to walk literally up. I mean, at least 1,000 feet of elevation to get home every day at a job I did not like.
That sounds awful.
It was awful. And then, of course, there was a very bad breakup, and it was El Nino.
Oh.
It was the rainiest, windiest, coldest, shittiest year in the last 40 years in San Francisco.
Okay.
And I lived at the top of the hill, and that weather would come right off the bay, and the first thing it would hit was my window. I hated San Francisco. I hated it.
Okay.
Passionately. I still do. Still hate it.
You know what I like about San Franciscans is that everyone knows San Francisco is a great city. It's one of the
it's a great
one of the
city.
greatest
Yeah,
cities.
absolutely.
It's got lots of
whoever-
culture,
Yeah.
a ton, great food,
Just not for me.
character. But what I like about San Franciscans is that they can make fun of themselves.
Yes.
You don't meet a San Franciscan who's like, "Don't you dare make fun of San Francisco.
No, you're
this is the
right.
best city on earth." You know.
You're right. I can't speak for the new breed, but you're absolutely right. And I think that it's undeniable that just as a city, San Francisco has an enormous amount to offer.
Yes.
And it's right next to, like, you could drive to the forest, the skiing, like it's next to everything. It's a wonderful place, but it sucks. Hard to explain. But no, I will never go back to California.
Oh, to live.
Ever.
Yeah, we've had actually a couple of discussions about that for various, not that we've ever seriously considered it, but we've had a couple of discussions for career reasons to maybe relocate to California. And we were both like, nope.
Nope. I will say this. A native New Yorker has absolutely no business in San Francisco, period. Absolutely cannot be done. Never been done. Never will be done. And most importantly, and I don't know how else to say this, everybody annoyed me in San Francisco. It was.
Can you be specific? Why?
Okay. I can't be specific. Like it was all shades of annoyance. No matter what I did, I was annoyed. But specifically, if you want one overriding theme, wherever I went, I was too angry.
Oh.
I'm like, calm down. You're too angry. I'm like, I'm not angry. I'm just from New York. I'm just from New York. I'm a baseline New York. This is how I am.
Yeah.
And everyone had this like high and mighty, like, oh, we're so everything. But meanwhile, they're all living off their parents' money, most of these people. and they're really annoying. Everyone was annoying me. I was annoyed. I woke up. I was annoyed. Day, night, morning, afternoon, always annoyed.
You sound like me in Germany. Okay, the next one's for me, Sharleen. How did you come to be an opera singer? And if you could do anything else, what would it be?
That is a good one.
Yeah, it's for me.
For you. Have I did too much talking here?
No,
I'm trying to overcompensate.
No,
but you know I don't
what's
love
funny
these.
is I've noticed a lot of questions are for you. People want to get to know you. It's really cute.
Oh,
it's so
that is
sweet.
cute.
They're really curious about you.
Oh, I'm uncomfortable.
Okay, I'll talk for a while then. Take the spotlight off you. Okay, so I'll try to give the in a nutshell version because obviously there's a long version to the story. But basically, I started out singing like an extracurricular activity in my youth, along with figure skating.
Youth.
Yeah, I started at age 7. My first singing
Wow.
lesson was at age 7.
Now,
And-
did you like, were you, this is my question, and I don't even think I've gotten a full answer on this. Was it like one day you saw like a Disney thing and you started singing and you're like, I like singing? Or was it like your parents like, you're going to have singing lessons because that's the way it is and you sort of just were good at it?
I think my parents in general wanted to make sure we were well-rounded and had opportunities, and we were lucky enough to have parents that felt that way and the means to make it happen. And so they put me in singing lessons because I was harmonizing Disney tunes in the car.
Oh, so it did start with you singing. You like
yeah,
singing.
but it wasn't like, I don't think my voice was necessarily like, oh, wow, her voice, it's so amazing. It was more that I had the ear to harmonize at that age.
I think not many 7-year-olds can harmonize, let alone even sing anything.
So in the beginning, I just took singing lessons. It was one of the many things I did. And then as I started to get older, my voice started to develop. I started to do more complicated repertoire. And I started winning local competitions, like little things. And at that point, it got a little more serious. You know, I moved teachers. I went to a more serious voice teacher, you know, and it was less about, oh, sing folk songs and more like technique.
This is going to happen.
Yeah, it was more like, okay, how are you using your voice and like what repertoire are you going to do next, that kind of thing. And that was at around age 14, 15. And that teacher actually played a pretty pivotal role in all this because when it came time to apply for school, she was like, I don't say this to all my students, like you actually have what it takes.
She was right.
She was right. I still have a kind of like bittersweetness about it because part of me knows that I would not have pursued singing as my career without her. And so it's amazing how just one person can just sort of change the trajectory of your life in that way. But I have such a fear of regret that I was like, oh, I can't not pursue this if I do have indeed what it takes, that kind of thing.
You've always had that fear of regret.
Yes.
It's driven you.
Yeah. And so I, from there, applied to schools thinking, okay, if I don't get in, then I know. And I ended up getting into most of them. I got scholarships and stuff. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm doing this. And so then I got 2 degrees and here I am. It's not that romantic a story, honestly. Most singers I know, or at least some singers I know, are like, I was put on this earth to sing.
Yeah. You did not get into singing for the love of singing.
If there was a love of anything, it was the love of music. I love the music a lot. But I don't really love a lot of the other facets of being a stage performer.
I think one of the things you like is tackling near impossible tasks. And I think the podcast is one of them.
I don't know.
You are amazing at doing podcasts, and you never knew anything about a podcast before you started it. You just learned, and you were like, I'm not going to be beaten by this.
I feel like it's probably come through in some of our answers here and there, and when singing does come up, especially the Child Free by Choice episode where you called my singing career a child I had when I was like 17.
That's grown up to be a lovely adult. By the way.
Yeah, but it does cause me a lot of grief, I guess. Like singing is not for the faint of heart. It's not an easy career. It's not easy to make it. And whenever people are like, oh, do you have advice? I'm tempted to give advice that I was once given at a master class, which is if you can see yourself doing anything else, consider doing it. And I know that's really dark. It's just true.
That's actually totally sound advice for a lot of arts.
Yes,
Yeah.
Totally. You really have to have a real passion for it. And I think my passion for the music alone has brought me this far. And also, I'm afraid of cutting my losses too early, I guess. Like I've put so much into it at this point that how could I quit now? But there are also moments, and they're very fleeting, too few and far between. But when I'm really happy with how I sang, it's like a high I can't describe.
You're not going to get that in a 9-to-5 office job.
No.
I promise you.
No. When I performed to the best of my ability and I know exactly how it happened, it was not an accident. It was sheer skill, and like my brain was working the whole time to make it happen the way I intended it to. It's like, I feel like Mickey Mouse in, what's that movie where he's like the magician?
Oh, Fantasia.
Yes.
That's the first and only time I'll ever out Disney you in my life. So I'm going to savor this moment.
I feel like Mickey.
Of course, it's because Fantasia's from like 800 years ago. It's from like the steam age.
Great soundtrack in Fantasia, by the way.
Amazing. That's when, I mean, not to sound like 100 years old, but that's when cartoons were cartoons. That's when Disney didn't play games.
Oh, yeah.
That was like the Bambis, the Fantasias.
Yeah.
And Fantasia's out there.
Yes.
That's not like any 7-year-old watching Fantasia isn't like the whole time like, yay. There's like sometimes they're like, yeah, they're crying, they're yelling.
Anyway, that's the only way I can describe it. It is euphoric when you get it right. It's just impossible to feel that way all of the time.
But isn't that the way? And there's nothing I take more joy in than watching you take joy in singing. Because I always feel like I'm like, wow, this opportunity, I can't believe you get the opportunity to do this.
Yeah,
This is
you really
incredible.
love it's so sweet. You really love it and appreciate what I do.
But I will say this, every job in the end becomes fleeting moments of joy. You're lucky if you have any joy. There are some jobs where there's nothing. Even the jobs where people do feel joy, it's fleeting. There's moments. And the rest of it is just often just drudgery and daily life. And I do think singing is like that too. And the highs can be a lot higher than other fields you could be in.
I agree. And the lows, they're low. But they're not, I don't think like, I know how much worse it can be. We'll put it that way. Like at the end of the day, I'm extremely grateful that I get paid to sing for a living. Like that's pretty fucking cool. I think at the heart of it, at the end of the day, if I'm going to close this, I've been talking about this way longer than I intended to. It doesn't suit my personality. That's kind of at the heart of it, is that I am very introverted, and people make assumptions about me and my personality when they hear I'm an opera singer, because they're like, oh, well, you get up on a stage. And actually, that's the very thing that doesn't suit me. And it's not even that I have performance anxiety. It's not so much that. It's that I prefer the podcasty kind of like sitting at a computer and like finessing things. And I'm actually more of an aesthetics person. So it doesn't really fit me exactly, but I'm pretty damn lucky.
I think you do best in discomfort. You're a real fighter. Like you make things hard look easy.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And I honestly, to be like, I think of you sometimes as Ebenezer Scrooge. That's probably not the right way to open this analogy, but I feel like I would love to see the ghost of Christmas past come and visit you and show you what your life would have been like at a 9-to-5 office job. And then you wake up in a sweat like, I love singing. Don't ever do that again.
There's probably some truth in that.
Yeah. Anyway. I mean, I've done it, and I can tell you that singing's better. I also, just because I'm used to this from the podcast, I realize I screwed something up.
What?
It's not the ghost of Christmas past. It's the ghost of Christmas future that would be visiting you.
A ghost of Christmas future in an alternate reality?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's very specific.
If you had a 9-to-5 career.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but your past is your past. The ghost
Yeah.
of Christmas past doesn't show you a different past.
Okay.
I completely screwed that up.
Okay.
And everyone would come after me, but you can't now, suckers. Got it in the nick of time.
Okay, quickly, what else would I do? And I think you should also say what else you would do.
Sure.
Because I don't think that would give away what you do.
They're like, well, we found something he's not
The
doing.
process of elimination.
Yeah, we now have only 78 million other jobs that he could do.
Okay, I would definitely... I mean, my lifelong dream, and it was the thing I did when I was a little girl, I would sketch outfits. It sounds so cliche, but I've always wanted to be a fashion designer, and I'll probably never do it.
And you would have been one of the greats. I have no doubt.
Okay, you go.
I could get into that for a long time, but we'll leave it at that. Veterinarian
Oh,
or possibly architect. But
you'd be
probably
so
veterinarian.
good at both. But, okay, there's an argument to be made, though, that being a vet is actually difficult if you really love animals. I mean, of course they love animals, but you end up sort of euthanizing a lot of them.
Architect.
All I'll say is that
I didn't think of that. I didn't think that through.
Yeah, when I talked to my sister, who's a doctor, she was like, well,
God, I didn't think that through.
yeah,
I couldn't do that.
it would be hard.
So I feel relieved now that I didn't become a veterinarian.
Architect it is.
Architect.
Okay, next question. What are your favorite quirks about each other?
I mean, the reason I married you is all quirks. It's like a collection of 100 quirks.
I'm basically one giant quirk.
You are. You really are.
That's sweet. Thank you.
Oh,
Well, because I
yeah.
grew up feeling very self-conscious about it and I wished I was more normal, more cool.
No.
Like
no.
most little girls, you know.
Thank God. Okay, I'm gonna. There's a million, but I'll think of. Okay, so curling up in a ball on a plane or anywhere to fall asleep. It's amazing.
You're
It's
always
like
amazed at my whole like.
yeah, do it. Let's see. Just do it so they can see.
It's just very comfortable to do this.
I can't do that. I can't even get in the position, let alone fall asleep in it. Anyway, it's very cute and quirky, and you're like it's like an armadillo. You just like roll up and you go into your sleeping position in this tiny crammed area, and it's very cute.
Aww.
You love dessert.
Yes.
And you're really like very prim and proper and like dignified all the time, except you love chocolate so much. Every other day or so, I see you and you've got chocolate on your face.
I love chocolate.
I mean, it's the cutest thing in the world. Anyway, so then I could keep going. So you love feeling things.
I do.
You love.
I love
you-
the
yeah.
texture of things. When I go shopping,
Anytime.
I touch
She
everything.
touches everything in the store. Like if she had like salmonella on her fingers, everyone in the store would say everyone's vomiting. But I like anything I show her. I show her anything. A plant, an animal, anything. I was like,
Another
look
thing
at
I love
this.
touching is leaves and petals.
Leaves,
Yeah.
especially thick leaves, hairy leaves. And you touch it with a very serious expression. It's very serious. You're just like,
I'm taking it in.
but it's very cute. Everything I show you, you touch and you stroke. It's very cute.
Oh, I mean, I have some for you too.
I have another one.
Oh, okay, go. I mean, I feel so seen right now.
The walking. You walk with the widest arm swing of any human being I've ever seen in my life.
I have places to go.
It's literally a full. It's like almost. It's almost a 180 on both arms. It's almost like you're like some sort of like robot gone haywire. It's amazing, and the more excited you are about a destination, the wider the swing. It's the cutest thing in the world.
Oh, husband.
Yeah, like when you're angry at me, your arms aren't swinging. You're just walking.
that's
You're walking
true.
with like just a normal arm swing.
That's true.
Yeah, when we're getting somewhere, like if there's a restaurant where I'm like, oh, we should eat at this place, and you're like, yeah, it's just like.
Oh, thank you, I think.
Okay.
I mean, I have so many for you're like, okay, I'm ready.
Quirks, please.
I have so many for you. I mean, just now, like your example with San Francisco about how people annoy you and like they're like calm down. Like I love how worked up you get about stuff. You have such passion about things that you care about, and it could be something so mild, but it's something that elicits a reaction from you. Nothing is not worth your time to get worked up about if you care about it. And I love that.
Oh,
Combined
yeah.
with the fact that you're so expressive. it doesn't cost you anything. We talked earlier about peeves and deal breakers. It doesn't cost you anything to say how you feel, to laugh at a joke, to smile like wide when you find something funny or cute or whatever. And you just show it. Like your face is just so like a bright light that shows how you're feeling all the time. And it's not even when it's bad, like when you're sad, you're just like it's so easy to tell. You're just an open book. I love that. Want me to keep going?
Next. I believe you have 3 more quirks. Unless I find you quirkier than you find me.
You know, you talked in a Q&A once about your id and how you don't like to show to the outside world what you are. Or to quote an episode of The Bachelorette, Jason's father said, some people wear their logo or their brand on the outside. I love how you don't give a shit about styling your hair, wearing the coolest clothes, which I think takes innate and immense confidence to be able to do. Because when you think about why most people do these things or dress up these ways, a lot of it is of some form of peacocking, or like I know in my case, because I'm certainly one of those people, it's my armor. I feel like I'm better equipped to handle social situations and to just take on the world and to be understood and perceived in a way I want to be if I wear the right outfit and do my hair the right way or whatever. But the fact that you have the ability to just walk out in the street with just like a white V-neck.
Look like I have no job. Or...
Anyway, I don't know if that's really a quirk, but I mean, I think it's a quirk. Like everyone notices you don't wear anything else.
It's definitely a quirk to wear a white V-neck 95% of the days of your life.
It's a quirk, but I see what makes that possible, and it's not laziness. I mean, maybe a little bit, but it mostly comes from a place of knowing what you have beneath that.
I appreciate that you see that.
Want me to keep going? You're like,
you have at least 2 more. If you want to win, you have 3 more.
Okay, next. I love your love of all things natural, nature, animals. You find such pleasure and fascination in the smallest, most simplest things. And I think if the world were just a bunch of Andes, it would just be such a magical, harmonious place. Because it wouldn't be full of dum-dums either. You know, like you're clearly very intelligent and you are fascinated by the workings of a bumblebee. In general, you do have a childlike wonder to you that is super rare. I think most people think they're too cool. It's actually a shame. I think this podcast is the closest anyone's ever going to come to seeing that side of you, like when you break into song. Yeah. But you're just like, you're composing on the spot, you're dancing, boxing, totally naked, and like... You're just like the things you do. It's like you're a kid, and I'm never bored. Okay, I can definitely come up with another one.
Okay, but I don't want you to win. So let's just call it a tie.
Okay, so if this were the Newlyweds Game, we're coming to a draw.
Yeah, this is better. Okay. Better for us.
Okay, but I really can go on, just so you know. It seemed like you reached your max. Okay, next question. Could we hear your thoughts on your age difference? You know, it's funny how often this comes up. I don't know why everyone cares so much.
People are fascinated about it.
They really are. And I don't even think our age difference is that crazy.
No, it's not a crazy one. I mean, every celebrity has a bigger one. Yeah. But I will say
way
this.
Bigger.
I'll say this. I wish that we had less of an age gap.
Yeah.
But when you find the one, you don't ask questions.
Yeah.
And honestly, not to be morbid, but the only thing about our age difference that bums me out is that, I might die before you.
Yeah, we've talked about that in a few Q&As regarding age-related questions. That's really the main one. But I kind of want to talk about this in general. Like, I find it fascinating how focused people are on that and the assumptions that are made because of it. Yeah,
all the assumptions they make about this is wrong, by the way. It's not. She didn't marry me for my money. Not to say I'm not fabulously wealthy.
You really learn a lot about human nature, I guess, when you go on a reality show, get 100 and whatever thousand Instagram followers, and then start dating someone who's more than a decade older than you. Yeah. Because the comments that I've gotten over the years are really upsetting and range from, ew, is that your dad? To, oh, he must be rich. To...
That's the most common, yeah.
Yeah. And I think that actually is one of the joys of having a podcast, is getting to show who you are, and no one questions it anymore. But it is sort of a shame that that's what it took.
Yeah, it took a podcast. This is a spite podcast.
But that's not to say we don't still get remarks. Like, we'll still get comments on a YouTube video that's not even about our relationship, where someone's like, oh, this age difference, ew, about us. And I'm just like, do you think we can't see that? Also, do you not think that we wish we were a couple years closer? It is what it is. Like,
it's not ooh. It's not an ooh age difference also.
Yeah,
and I'm
I
not
don't
just saying
think
that
so.
because it's my thing. It's
Yeah.
not ooh. Like if I like.
And I met
if
you
we
when I was almost 30.
Yeah, if you were 16 when we met, yes.
Yeah.
Fully ooh.
Yeah.
But you weren't. You were a full-grown woman.
Yeah.
Fully womanized.
Yeah. And with a lot of dating under my belt.
A lot
it's
of
not like
dating.
you were the first person I met and I didn't know any better. Anyway, I find it interesting how focused people are on that.
Yeah.
And I guess one of the reasons I chose this question is because I wanted to talk about it. Like, I think people should sort of reconsider how they think about that in all directions. I don't mean only when the man is older.
Why is it something that people are thinking about?
Yeah, people are very focused on other people's ages and their
If it's like
relationships.
25 years, fine. You're like how I'm judging people with a 25-year difference. Like, ugh, those people are disgusting.
For me, it always comes down to the late stages of life.
It also depends on when you meet. Once you hit a certain age, you're all adults. Everyone's an adult.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter.
It's amazing how much judgment you get. That's all I'm going to say.
You do. But then you just have to start a spite podcast.
What are your thoughts on aliens, ghosts, and the supernatural?
Nice concise answer here. I have a lot of thoughts on this. Aliens. In our galaxy, there are about 200 or 300 billion stars. Each one of those stars has probably, I don't know, I really don't know, but on average, let's say 6 planets, 6 or 7 planets. And there are probably 200 or 300 or 400 billion galaxies in the universe. So 200 or 300, 400 billion times 300 billion times 6 or 7, obviously a number that's incomprehensible. The odds of there not being life everywhere.
Yeah, a life of any kind.
Is infinitely small. It's almost impossible. So that being said, I believe that there are aliens everywhere. Not necessarily near us.
And
But
not necessarily how we envision them to be.
No, not even how we envision them to be. Like completely insane. Like stuff that your head would spin. That being said, I also think there are probably planets somewhere with literal, like very similar to us people. I honestly believe it's almost impossible that there aren't planets somewhere in this universe where someone's watching bad television. Because there's a near infinite number of planets in the universe. It's just math. So that being said, I do not believe that any of these alien civilizations ever can get to the point where they can master travel at the speed which you would have to go to reach another life-bearing planet.
Wait, is that because for them to become intelligent enough to do that, they would first destroy themselves the way we are?
Yes.
Okay. Ding, ding, ding.
Correct. Many people ask, why haven't we been visited by alien life? I mean, there are some people who think we have, but they're wrong. But let's just say that because, in my opinion, if aliens came to visit, they would not be friendly.
Oh, really?
It would not be a good visit.
I mean, if we went to another planet, we'd be friendly.
You can't say that because we are not even close to being able to go to another planet. If we evolve to the point where we're going to another planet, first of all, that takes an enormous amount of energy and resources. We're going there to take all their shit. That's what's happening. We're not going there. We're
going to see if we can live there instead after we destroy this one.
Yeah, we're going to like harvest their bodies for some fuel or something. It's not going to be nice. We're not going there to do it like I have a petting zoo. So I don't believe that aliens coming here is a good thing. But they haven't come. And the reason they haven't come is because we cannot travel to the places. Like even if life is teeming in the universe, it's everywhere. The distance you'd have to travel to get to the nearest life would take us, like with our current technology, like 1 million years. It's impossible. And that's close. That's like a few hundred light years away. Yeah. Our galaxy alone is 100,000 light years. So the aliens that even get close to the ability to travel near the speed of light, which I don't believe any living thing in the universe is ever going to or has gotten to, because we'd have seen them probably by now, they destroy themselves. Any organism that has the ability to technologically advance at that rate will eventually destroy themselves.
Yeah.
It's just, I think it's almost mathematical.
Well, it's an interesting discussion on intelligence and the curiosity it takes to create technology like that, like the combination of intelligence and curiosity, and I think some degree of ego, because you kind of need all three. Yeah. I think, to create something that will take you to other planets.
Absolutely.
It's not just intelligence and curiosity. A lot of our amazing technological advances stem in some form from ego.
Absolutely. You know what's lived for close to 500 million years and has never been interested at all in technological advancement?
Mosquitoes.
Ferns. And ferns will be here thriving long after we're gone.
Yeah. Anyway, the ego point to say that I think that you must have some degree of ego to reach that, and then you would end
aggression.
Up... Yeah.
Like if I'm sitting, think about the first humans. They were sitting in like, a beautiful jungle with fruits and streams and animals and
paradise.
Bunnies and occasionally tigers that would eat them, but that's not who cares. And it was delightful. They had each other. They had their little family unit. They'd make fires. They banged drums. It was delightful. Who thought, I want to build a skyscraper. I want to build a plane. No, you
someone
just
with an ego.
Someone with ego, someone with aggression. Someone's like, I want to do something that's going to get me over there. And when I get there, I'm going to take it all.
Yeah, I want to be powerful.
Power.
Okay. Do you want to talk about ghosts?
Aliens. That being said, I mean, I would die to see what's going on out there, but I never will. It's one of the great frustrations and sadnesses of my life is that I know that we will never get to the point where we see life.
You'll never come close.
Never even close. We're 1 million years away, and I think we maybe have 100 years left.
Okay,
so,
next.
That being said, ghosts don't exist. But that being said, I think...
You're going to get people chiming in to say they do,
okay,
and they're going to be offended.
All right, they exist. Who cares? Even if they existed, who cares? Who really cares? Even if they existed, which they don't, who cares? What do they do? What do they do? What are ghosts doing? Are there ghosts here?
They're making us feel like we haven't lost our loved ones forever.
So what are they doing exactly? They're like making things happen where I learn lessons?
No, they're just making you feel comforted that you're not fully alone.
How? Well, how do I know?
Your awareness of their presence.
But a ghost has never come visited me.
Well, maybe it's because you don't believe in them.
But I would believe them if they came to visit me.
I mean, that becomes a talk about God now. It's like,
no, it's not about God. If a ghost visited me, I would believe the hell in ghosts. Trust me. I would probably never leave the house again.
Oh, maybe. And people believe in ghosts and they all have a story. So there you go.
Okay, fine. Who cares if
there's ghosts? Move on from
ghosts. I don't believe in ghosts. My point is that humans are already supernatural. They are supernatural. We are literally a bag of meat walking around like doing podcasts.
It's amazing.
How insane is that? What do we need ghosts for? We're ghosts. We're supernatural. It's insanity what's going on with humans.
Yeah.
It's beyond, even ghosts are like, all right, we don't have what these guys have. Let's get out of here. We have ghosts, I'm assuming, are from like old times. They don't have
They're in like Victorian dresses.
Yeah. Ghosts come along, they're like, woo, like I got a podcast. This is old. I don't go do your ghosting somewhere else. But yeah, so that's how I feel about this.
Okay, and the last was supernatural. I feel like you covered that. The end was we are supernatural.
We are super, but I do believe that there are things, I'm not a total cynic.
No, you're actually, I think when it comes to galaxies and universes, you're not a cynic at all.
I think strongly that there are things so beyond our comprehension, like existence, like why does anything exist is a very good question.
Yeah.
It really should be the only question we should be working on. Why does anything exist? Not just why does this exist or how did the universe
start?
Why
do I exist?
Why do I exist? Why does anything exist? Why does an atom exist? What happened? Why? Where did that come from? Why? It was a perfectly good nothing. And then there was stuff.
By the way, you're demonstrating one of your quirks right now.
Oh, a lot of hand motions.
I know. I love this. You get so worked up. It's so
I'm
sweet.
very worked up about this. I mean, this you shouldn't have asked me this question. This is the whole podcast.
No, I love this question.
But I think there are forces that are at work. Which if we were told, if someone came down, it's like, okay, I'm going to tell you the supernatural stuff, and here it is, we would just be like, But I think it's like ants. It's like you ever walk by, you see ants like doing their thing. They're like going in the hole and
Yeah.
and they're bringing
we're the
leaves.
ants. Oh, we're totally the ants.
By the way, I could watch a stream of ants going to a hole doing their like scavenging for
hours. I know.
I
I've
could
seen
fall
it.
asleep watching them.
Yeah.
You look at them and they're really not paying attention to you. You notice that? Like you're walking around. They sometimes get stepped on. They're like, that's just part of life. Like
They're very uninterested.
they're uninterested, but it's like they can't comprehend. They can't comprehend humans or technology or boats or cars driving up. It's all just, they're like, we don't have the ability or the time or the resources to think about this stuff or to understand it. We just pick up leaves, we put it in the hole, we dig a hole, we make the babies, we give the babies leaves, and that's it.
Leaves.
That's what we do. So if I explain to an ant, I'm like, listen, there's this thing called a podcast. And before the podcast, I kind of actually explained to you the internet, which is what made podcasts possible. But before the internet, I kind of actually explained electricity, which kind of powers the internet. And then before that, I kind of actually explained mathematics. Yeah, the ant would be like, I got a leaf here. I got to get this leaf to the hole. Stop talking. But my point being is that we are to the ant as whatever we don't understand is to us. And I strongly believe that the us of knowledge exists out there. We will never understand it. We don't have the tools to begin to understand it. And it is, in the most literal sense, supernatural.
Oh.
Slow clap worthy? I'm not sure, but I'll take it. I'll take
It's so
it.
fast. It's so
I'll
fast.
take it. Thank you.
I just, yeah, I concur.
So what's your take?
I don't have an opinion. Well,
That's so delightful.
I think I'm more accepting, and this shows the difference in our personalities. I'm more accepting of what's beyond my reach.
That's a healthy way to look at it.
I'm not kept awake at night over things like that. And I love how much it haunts you. And I've
You're
learned
lucky.
a lot from you.
Don't have
You just
to.
have such a thirst for knowledge.
I mean, it reminds me of the movie Ants with Woody Allen and Sylvester Stallone.
Bring it back to ants, which are amazing, by the
That's
way.
Scarlett Johansson.
Oh, really?
I don't remember. I think she was in it. Anyway, the point is,
She's in a lot
or
of
is it
stuff.
Rachel Weisz? I don't know who's in an ant movie.
Scarlett Johansson, probably.
Scarlett Johansson seems like an ant movie kind of person. But Woody Allen was the ant who was like questioning. He's like, what's the point of any of this? Like,
Yeah.
why are we doing this? And everyone's like, shut up, just be an ant. What are you talking about? Who cares?
Yeah.
But the fact is, there's nothing wrong with just being an ant and not thinking about this stuff. It's a good path of least resistance, and I envy you. But you will still be mercilessly oppressed by my opinions on things for the rest of your life.
I like it. You give me a lot to think about. Okay, Andy. I think that's a wrap.
Oof, it's one of those episodes where I can tell you that this is not smelling good here. That's a sign. It's a sign of a heavy episode.
But you eased into it as we got going.
I eased in. I need to get more comfortable with this.
I'm proud of
especially
you.
for our live show. Coming to you in October. No, I don't know when it's coming.
Yeah. I mean, that would be a dream in a way. It would be so cool. It would be cool to meet everyone.
I would rather just have a live meeting where I
Yeah.
don't have to do anything.
Yeah, I would rather just get to stand there and like hang
just
out with
be like,
everyone. and just,
Everyone
like,
like tell me how great I am. Like, next.
like a receiving line.
Yeah. What do you enjoy about the podcast? Specifically me. Yeah, that would be pretty shitty.
No, it would be cool to meet people. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And one of the main reasons we do this is to connect with people.
It would just be to meet people.
Yeah.
And my biggest fear about the live show is not that, it wouldn't be a good show. It was that I would somehow disappoint the people that I really care about.
Well, actually, that's a big fear in general, not to go off on another tangent. But one of the big fears of meeting people who are Shandies is disappointing them. That's a huge fear for me in general.
Yeah. I've almost never met, and I'm not comparing myself to a big celebrity, but I'm saying I've almost never met a celebrity where I was like, that
lived
I
up.
like him more
Yeah.
or her more than I did before I met them.
Yeah. Okay, we have to wrap. But first, a quick word to tell our Shandies, you guys, just how much we adore you.
And it goes without saying that we would not be doing this without the Shandies. I mean,
Hell no.
Look, it's a given. Obviously, if we were doing this without anyone watching, it would be insane.
we would have quit after
that's
episode 1.
Obviously not the point I'm making. We don't see you guys as a group of we're advertising to this group
No.
of people. It's not like that at all. We see you as a group that really sees us And it makes us feel so good. Every time we put on an episode, we're like, all these Shandies, they're going to get this.
Yes.
And they do. And you get it every time.
Yeah.
It's a great gift. I don't even know how to, it makes me uncomfortable. I don't know how to thank them. I guess we thank them by continuing to do these podcasts.
And you thanked them especially by doing this episode that you did not want to do. If you enjoyed what you heard today, you know what we will ask of you. And that is to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, follow us on Instagram and TikTok, leave us Apple and Spotify podcast ratings and reviews, and generally do all the things that you would do to support a podcast you enjoy. And if you're listening to this episode in particular, I think you enjoyed Dear Shandy. So leave us a damn review. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Dear Shandy. Bye-bye. Dear Shandy.